This is a short tutorial on check calculations for functional skills tests. Now, check calculations will be in every single functional skills test somewhere along the lines. With the exam board that we use, we tend to find we have three check calculation questions, one for each task. Now, there's two methods of working out check calculations, although we tend to stick to the one simply because it's the easier one to do and the technique never changes. Now, these check calculations are called reverse calculations. Now, don't get me wrong, the term reverse calculations almost sounds complicated, but it's really not. Once you've done one or two of them, the rest of them will fall into line. Now, what you'll tend to find is you'll be given an option of which calculations you want to check. So, say, I don't know, the reverse calculation, or your check calculation is question 1D. You might be given the option to check either 1A or 1B, and it's up to you to choose. You'll usually be given a tick box like this. So then you can choose exactly which calculation you want to check. Obviously, it sounds common sense, but just make sure you tick one of them, otherwise you are going to start losing marks. Now, back to my method, the reverse calculation method. Like I said before, it's probably the better one to be using out of the two. Now, we'll just make up a calculation that we might have done in one of the other questions. So the calculation we did was 250 divided by 100 to give us 2.5. Now, don't worry if you can't do that calculation in your head. Just remember you are allowed calculator at all times during a functional skills test. So it's not like you can use it for one question, not another. Feel free to use it whenever you like. So, for the reverse calculation, if we're wanting to check this, the first thing we do is start with our answer. So bring our answer over here and start with 2.5. Now the next thing is to swap around the operation that we've used. Now, when I say operation, what I mean is this in the middle. So it can be a plus, minus, divide, multiply. Either one is what we call the operation. Now, because we're on a divide here, what we want is the exact opposite of this. So obviously the opposite of divide is to multiply. Right, now the last step of actually sorting this out is, well, what I tend to do is leave this second number where it is. So bring your second number down, and put it there. So you've now got 2.5 multiplied by 100. And if all goes well and you've got your calculation correct, you should end up back with your original number. So we'll just run this through the calculator quickly, just to double check it. So we've got 2.5 multiplied by 100. Whoops, let's try 100. And yeah, back to 250, which is exactly where I wanted it to be. So as you can see, that's the exact method we have to use for reverse calculation. It doesn't matter what the calculation is you're checking. If you're doing a reverse calculation, the technique is always the same. Start with your answer, swap your operation, and leave the second number where it is, and you will always end up back with your other number. That's the one that I prefer. I will show you the other one just just to be fair, to be honest with you. So the other one is what we call estimation, or it can be sometimes called approximation. It just does depend on who's teaching it, to be honest with you. So for this question, say we were doing 23 multiplied by 49. That was our original question. Let's clear that off. 23 multiplied by 49, 1127. So if we wanted to use the estimation or approximation technique to double check, make sure we've got this sorted, and make sure we've got this accurately, what we want to do is to round both of these numbers So easier numbers to deal with. I mean, 23 and 49, they're not the easiest numbers to multiply together. So what we could do, for the 23 we can replace that, round it to the nearest 5, to be 25. Same thing for the 49. So it'd end up being 25 multiplied by 50. Again, calculator for this. 25 multiplied by 50, 1250, so 1250. Now, what this shows is that our original sum, 23 multiplied by 49, must be correct because it is roughly the same as multiplying 25 by 50. The issue a lot of people have with this method is that this number is never going to be exactly the same as your original, which can throw some people off, especially during exams when it's a bit more stressful. It can easily throw people off. The other issue is, if your original calculation was something like 50 multiplied by 30, and that's what you're wanting to check, you now can't round these numbers anywhere, so you wouldn't be able to use the estimation technique for that. You'd have to go back to using the reverse calculation. To be honest with you, estimation and approximation technique I'd leave alone. I'd rather stick to reverse calculation, as the technique doesn't change. It's the same every single time. And it doesn't matter what numbers are in there, it's exactly the same technique time and time again. And that's the end of this short tutorial on check calculations.